What I have is I have a basically a canned project that I use for other things it's shot specifically with an eye to students putting it together. That's what it's done for. This is a story about MakerSpace in Algonquin. Okay. And that's why. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna close that panel. And so this is very similar to what you're gonna get. You're gonna get, this is somebody on camera, this is somebody on camera, this is somebody on camera, and then this is a bunch of B-reel. Okay. So, but for you guys, it won't be quite so obviously labeled, right? You're going to have a whole bunch of clips. You're going to have to go through them and figure out what's B-reel, what's not. The other thing that you'll have, which this does not have, is you'll have so in the B-reel, there's no, I mean, there's very little live sound. There's a bunch of me jabbering in the background. But whereas in the one you've got, there actually is some, Jesus Christ, some live sound. So you have to bear in mind live sound and pay attention to it. Okay, so here's how you start. So this is a stripped down version of what you would have, but I'm going to show you how you start. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to make a sequence. Several of you, a few of you, I could see it doing the lighting thing, didn't have the right settings on the sequence. So like, and this is why we can't just drag a clip in. So I want you to make a sequence. When you make a sequence, so I right click in here and I'm going to go to new item. I'm going to make a sequence. Your sequences can be either 720 or 1080, but nothing else. Okay. No bigger than 1080, no smaller than 720. Okay. I want that to be absolutely clear to everybody. Okay. The footage that you're going to be working with is all 1080. So you can start the clip in 1080. Okay. So if I'm looking at a choice here, so you cannot do it. Don't do it as an AVI. Don't do it as anything like that. Do not use any of these DV things. You cannot use those. Those are all SD, standard definition. You need to do something in, so an example is DSLR, digital SLR, 1080p, 30. That's fine. That's a good, that's time basis 2997 frames per second. So that's first thing you do is you make your sequence, and you make your sequence the size that's you're going to be working in. So in which case 1080. Okay. Then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your whatever your on cameras are, and you're going to drag them over to the timeline. Okay. So in this case, I've got 3 people, and I've already pre-labeled them. So these are easy peasy. These are not hard to do. Okay. So yours will be a little bit harder than this. Not a lot, but a little bit harder than this. Okay. So in this case, my first one is this person named Dukaslav. That's her up there, Julie Dukaslav. Let's listen.
So my name is Julie Dukaslav. Last name is spelled Duchoslav. And I'm a...
First name is spelled?
Julie. And I'm a technical writing student here at Algonquin College.
Why do we do that? What I just did there. Why do we get them to say their name on camera and spell it out? Am I going to use that in the video? Thank you, somebody. Elliot, lower thirds. Yes. Yes. No, Appleton, I am not going to use that in the video. Absolutely not. Because I'm talking. Okay. Am I going to be in your video? No, I am not. Right. So we do not use it. We're not going to use it. Oh, I mean the spelling. Sorry. Yes. We use the spelling. We use it for lower thirds. That's exactly right. Also, this is also where you can tell them that they need to clear your rights. You can use this. Can we use this? If they're spelling the name out for you while you're shooting, nobody's going to be able to go to court and say, yeah, I didn't know they were going to use this, right? Like, it's pretty obvious, right? That's the other part of that too. So I always ask people, tell me your name, spell it out for me. Always. I don't care if their fucking name is John Smith. I get them to spell it out. There's 2 ways to spell John. Okay. I always 100% of the time get them to spell their name. And she spells out Dukaslav, Julie. I don't know how you spell Julie. I don't know how you spell Julie. Spell it out for me, So there's a singer named Julie Black. It's spelled Jully. Okay. So you get them to spell it, but you're not going to use it. So every one of them are going to start off that way. I don't want to see that in your clip. Okay.
Julie, tell me how MakerSpace has helped with you, with your program, with what you're doing, and developed you as a student.
So the next part of this, who is she? What's the character she's playing? Why do I have her? So this is a video about MakerSpace. What role does she play? Yeah, Emily says she uses MakerSpace. Yeah, she's experienced as a student there. Exactly. That's exactly it. So she's going to play that character, right? So then there's going to be a bunch of me asking questions. So we'll go back to that in a minute, but that's exactly right. She's going to speak to the student experience. Okay, next clip over here. Now, again, these are prepackaged. You're going to be going through individual clips looking for these things, but
Stephen Gagne, and I am an outreach officer with the MakerSpace.
Stephen, what is
right?
MakerSpace?
So who's this guy? Stephen Gagne. What's his job? Appleton, you're fantastic. Thank you. Oh, Joshua, yeah, outreach officer. Yeah, he's outreach officer. So Appleton, you would replay it again. He's the outreach officer. So what's he gonna be saying? Like if you were an outreach officer for an organization like MakerSpace at Algonquin, what would you be doing? Like it's in the title, right? Like what are you gonna bring to the video? I'm looking at chat to see if anybody pops anything up because I'm not hearing anything. Yeah, you're promoting. Yeah, that's what. So Joshua says you're promoting the MakerSpace. Absolutely. So everything he says is going to be from that angle of like, we're building this, we're running it. He's going to take the higher view, right? He's going to be, that's his role. So Julie's going to be this to the user, the actual client. Steven's going to be the guy that's kind of, the promoting guy, right? And then your last guy, who's our last guy? Let's listen to him.
Ryan Kotecki, RyanKowtecky, and I'm a 3D printing technician at the MakerSpace.
Okay, so that guy, he's going to be different, right? He's going to have a different voice. And it sounds like I'm being pedantic. Well, I'm a teacher. I'm pedantic. That's my job. But this is really important. You guys give these people a voice. Like when you're watching a movie, like it's critical. One of the worst things that a filmmaker can do is have everybody speak with the same voice. It's really hard to follow a movie. It's really hard to be engaged when everybody speaks with the same voice. One of the guys that's famous for that, or drives me a bit crazy, although I like his stuff. Do you remember a show called The West Wing? Maybe no. Anyway, there's writers where they write everything and then everybody sounds like them. So you have to be really careful about that. So you have to allow these characters to have a voice. So right now we got 3 characters. We've got Julie, who plays the student, and it doesn't matter that they are these actual things. Your job is to make them right. So Julie is the student. Stephen is the outreach management, PR guy, and Ryan is the boots on the ground, making the 3D printers work, blah, 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 other stuff, right? So they each have very specific roles. And the corollary of this is you never have 2 people saying the same thing, because you're wasting everybody's time. And people will say the same thing. And I give this assignment out in one of my Algonquin classes. Now, this is stuff that I shot specifically for class. So this is like, they knew they were doing this for students to cut up, right? This was not as, the two of the ones that I'm giving you are actual projects that I've done for client things. So, but so in these two, you'd say, you know, I know the roles that they're going to play, right? In the ones that I'm giving you, you're only gonna have two of these voices. So you might have something like in this, if this was the example, I would say Julie, and you would have only management voices of you'd have a guy that works there with Ryan, and you have a guy that runs stuff with Steven, right? So if you would get the project and you'd look at it and say, what's the hole that I need to fill in? And you should come to the conclusion that the hole is if I didn't have Julie, what would you need? What would you shoot? What would you what would you get somebody to play? If you didn't have Julie here, what would you get somebody to play?
Find yourself another student.
You get somebody to play a student, right? So if I gave you this as a project, just like these other two, and I gave you Steven and I gave you Ryan, you would get somebody, either the other partner, your other person on your team, or another student, or a sibling, or somebody to play the role of Julie. Yeah, a user of the MakerSpace. That's exactly what you need. So this is the first part in what you're going to be looking for to build your actual piece. What's the part that you feel is missing that you need to bring to tell the story adequately? Okay. So that's probably the first sort of thing you're gonna do. In this case, I've got all three. I've got Julie, I've got Steven, I've got Ryan. Okay. So let's take a look. We're going to cut off. We don't need the first part because we don't care. We're going to, and these are already, bear in mind, these are already trimmed. Yours will be a little longer. So I'm just going to start right here. You also are never going to hear me. Okay. You cannot hear me.
Yeah, so in the technical writing program, we have to basically take complex things and transform all of that information into, technical documentation that's accessible for a lot of different students and like different audiences for the most part. So what I've actually done in collaboration with the MakerSpace is that I've taken my assignments that I actually have to do for my program and have applied them to a real world scenario. So writing documentation for the MakerSpace, such as a proposal, or writing the manual for the 3D printing within the space, I've actually been able to apply like my skills to come and use their equipment here and apply that to my writing in my program. And then through all of that, being exposed to the different technical things that are within the space and using them and learning how to do them by writing about them, I'm now actually going to be going into a placement for aerospace. So being able to just match from like just simplistic 3D printing to then going into documentation for aeromechanics.
Can I go past my question?
So tell me, like, is this in your mind, looking at that, your way you think, do you see this as being how much of a benefit is this for your education at Algonquin College? And Algonquin College investment is itself, like, what do you think that is from a student's point of view?
Well, from a student's point of view, it's a great resource because I can come in here and learn about a bunch of different things from a bunch of different students in the other programs. I've had my laptop break down and had other people in different programs help me out with it. And you just meet so many different students from all different areas, and
okay,
it's just
so
a great
that's the clip you have.
space.
So you have her doing two answers. So what I would do is I would initially cut them up.
Has this been from your education at Algonquin College? And Algonquin College investment is like, what do you think about that as from a student's point of view?
So I would cut them up, and I'm going to change their color. I'm going to label them violet, doesn't matter. And I'm going to take out me in the center. So that's my two Julie clips. Now I'm going to go over to Steven.
Stephen Gagne, S-T-E-P-H-E-N-G-A-G-N-E, and I'm an outreach officer with MakerSpace.
What is MakerSpace? What do you
So
do?
here's our first. Again, we don't need that first little bit. When you're editing, your JKL keys are the keys that you go to, whether you're editing in Avid or Final Cut or Premiere, or anyway, it doesn't like virtually actually all of them. They use JKL as the keys. So spacebar starts and stops, J goes backwards,
MakerSpace is
L goes forward.
here. So
We still what do you guys do here?
Okay.
Those two.
So the MakerSpace is kind of a unique place on campus. Space is this here.
I want to come in before this, and I can use the arrow keys too, and then I'm going to cut it because I want to get rid of that first part. So C and V cuts it. C gives you the
So the
razor blade.
MakerSpace is
B
kind of a-
selects.
A unique place on campus in that it is open to literally everybody. At Algonquin, there's all kinds of studios and workshops that are locked down to a specific program. Here, we want to open things up to everybody. We do 3D printing, sound recording, filmmaking, design, coding, all in one
Okay,
space.
so that's a good little piece right there, right? So we're gonna cut that. We'll trim it just to there because we don't want that. V, and I'm gonna label it. We're gonna label it a different color because Stephen is going to be cerulean. Okay.
Of it, where did it come from?
The MakerSpace was originally something that happened just on paper, that was
We got-
supposed to be
pick that
run
up
by
and start?
somebody else. On paper.
Oh, it's very cool.
The MakerSpace
Where did it come from?
See the mic coming in there. Delete that. Oh,
The MakerSpace was originally something that happened just on. MakerSpace was originally something that happened just on paper, that was supposed to be run by somebody else. That person, our manager Matt Jerabek, walked in at the right moment and decided to take this idea and see where we could.
okay. Let's here. It finishes it there. So let's trim it. So C for cut. Razor blade.
I'm gonna get some other comments from other people, but if you were gonna give a wrap up right now, where you stand right now as far as how it's gone since you guys opened,
Okay.
what the
So
future
Mike's
holds.
coming over to him. V. I'm gonna get rid of that.
We had no idea when we opened this space what it was going to be. This place has been basically packed every day since we opened, getting all kinds of new gear. We picked up 3 new printers, $10,000 in stuff, and we are in a rapid growth phase right now.
Okay, we're rapid growth phase.
Where's it gonna go?
In a rapid
Okay,
growth
so
phase
C
right now.
cut that.
Where's it gonna go? What's the plan?
The plan is to make the MakerSpace be more than just 3D printing. We want to start doing art installations. We want to start doing workshops, getting people in here, filling this space up on the weekends, really making this
Okay,
something
so
for
there you go.
everybody in the space.
So I'm gonna label these last three. I'm gonna label them all cerulean. There we go. So there's Stephen Gagne's, right? And you could hear him talking. You could tell that he was definitely a different voice from the student, right? Because he was very much the what are we doing, where are we going, right? So the interviews will already be done for you, so you won't have to do those. But that's what you're trying to pull out. You're looking for where this story is going to go. So let me just I'm just trying to do some house cleaning, move some space down there, and we're gonna listen to Ryan now.
Ryan Kotecki, RyanKowtecky, and I'm a 3D printing technician at the MakerSpace.
So what exactly is your job
So
here?
the question was, what's your job here, and tell me how you've helped somebody.
Essentially, what I do is, on paper, I maintain the 3D printers and I make sure they're always up and running. But what I actually do is much, much bigger than that. I talk to everybody who comes in here and make sure that their idea is clear and they know what they want to do, and then help that idea become a reality. Whether that is app development, which is not my forte, I'll send them to Steven. Or if it's they have a project they want to work on, they're printing a building, then I'll help them get started with that, modeling from the ground up, and then making that building a reality.
Make that building a reality.
Modeling from the ground up,
Okay,
and
so
then
there's our
making
break
that building a
point.
reality.
Cut that. So you're going through and you're isolating these things. You can also, when you do the labeling, like what I'm doing right now is I'm going to turn this one to mango. What I'm doing is I'm just giving them all the same color. Like each person is the same color. What I normally do is I'll normally split out the really
Do you have an
bad
example
ones.
of somebody you helped came in and had a challenging challenge, and you were able to help?
The really bad ones.
Yeah,
and the really bad ones you don't even have to ascribe a color to. Do you know what I mean? You can just like skip over them.
Yeah, one of my favorite stories was there was a gentleman in the first couple weeks of opening who came in and he had no idea what 3D modeling really even was or where to start. So we sat down with him, we told him the software he needed, we told him get the basics and helped him get started. And weeks later, he had designed a fully functional like tank, and it was unbelievable the detail that he had put into this and the time. At this point, he's a better modeler than I am, and that's shameful because I've been doing it for 10 years, you know, but it was incredible how passionate he was and how immediately caught up he was in the idea, and he's very, very incredible.
Okay, so
and
there's your
good
that's
maker
a
now.
big long story that Ryan tells. So I'm going to tag that. What did I say for color? Mango, right? I use mango.
Just first, what is a placement for you?
Honestly, a lot, not to sound sentimental, but I would have killed for something like this when I was in high school. So the idea that it was open to everyone, student or not, regardless of age, was really exciting for me. And when Matt first contacted me and said, we'd like to open up this space and I'd like you to be a part of it, I was ecstatic. I was so excited, and coming in here, and despite there being a few road bumps, there always is, I'm thrilled with what this space is today.
I'm not going to
Perfect.
bother
Thanks,
cutting
Ryan.
me out at the end. We'll trim that out later. So there you go. So if I pull back and look at it, I can see I got big long one from Julie, 2 Julie's, 4 tight ones from Steven, 3 ones from Ryan, right? And I'm going to start and figure out what my story is going to be, right? So you're going to look at your pieces, and so you're going to do this with the clips that you have, and then you're going to find out what the whole is going to be. So as an example, if you didn't have the Julie Dukaslav character, then you'd have to create a student, right? Or a user. If you didn't have Ryan, you'd have to create somebody like that. You know, if you didn't have Steven, you'd create somebody that, and they could be replaced too. Like Steven as the outreach officer could be replaced with, somebody from the administration that decided this was going to be a good idea to start. You just want somebody to speak to different aspects of the story so that you can tell the story. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to try and pick some clips. This is kind of the next step, right? So we got it broken down. We got an idea of where we're going. And now we're going to pick some clips. So let's listen to these things from the point of view of story. Okay. So you've heard them all now. What is the story right now? What do you think is going to be the story? What are you leaning towards as far as an overall idea of the story? Where are we at right now? Do you think? Give me an example of a log line for this, or even just tell me what you think the story is going to be about. You've heard everybody we got. What do you think the story is going to be about? Because you're going to have to do the same process. MakerSpace is good. Okay. So Emily says MakerSpace is good. Well, okay. Yeah. Okay. Good. But is there, I'm not going to say is there a darker side, but good is a very vague thing. I think we're going to go with good. Positive impact, how it brings in many people. So Applein says the positive impact of MakerSpace, how it brings in many people. I think you're getting close. So to me, the core of this is going to be that this is the first, as one of them said, this is going to be the first time, this is the first initiative that's cross program. So you guys know that like, especially at Algonquin, like at Carleton too, but especially at Algonquin, you have all these resources. Like if you walk around Algonquin, you walk past greenhouses and welding labs, and so your students there. Can you go into that that truck maintenance thing at the end of down by the parking lot? Can you go in and check it out? No, right? Because it's not your program. But with MakerSpace, has anybody here ever been to MakerSpace at Algonquin? It's your second year, so it was all there last year.
I tried to find it last year, and then I got a little bit lost. I think I saw it once.
Okay, so it's in the Dare District, which is that new building, the kind of funky, and you know where that big giant mural, the Indigenous mural is on the wall? It's on the second.
We did some work for one of the guys involved with that last year for design processes.
Oh
Oh
no,
yeah.
I think this is another one. Oh wait.
But
Who
like
was it
he's
that you?
involved. It's
Oh, he's like.
Alex Yang.
Oh yeah, I think I know. I think I know how Alex Yang is. Yeah. Yeah, so it's this space, and I think the key element here, and so you're gonna have to do the same thing with your pieces. You're gonna be like, identify what's that core piece. So in my case, the core piece that I'm gonna try and go with is this idea that this is a pan. This is a cross. Anybody can come in here. Doesn't matter what department you're in. You can be in nursing, or you can be in paramedic, or you can be in graphic design. You can come in and work on 3D printers and stuff like that, right? So let's say that's the idea we go with. And now what we're going to do is we're going to say, let's pick the clips that work with our idea.
Yeah, so in the technical writing program, we have to basically take complex things and transform all of that information into, technical documentation that's accessible for a lot of different students and like different audiences for the most part. So what I've actually done in collaboration with the MakerSpace is that I've taken my assignments that I actually have to do for my program and have applied them to a real-world scenario. So writing documentation for the MakerSpace, such as a proposal, or writing the manual for the 3D printing within the space, I've actually been able to apply like my skills to come and use their equipment here and apply that to my writing in my program. And then through all of that, being exposed to the different technical things that are within the space and using them and learning how to do them by writing about them, I'm now actually going to be going into a placement for aerospace. So being able to just match from like just simplistic 3D printing to then going into documentation for aeromechanics is kind of cool.
Can we use that clip? Is that a good clip? Is that a clip that we're going to be able to use?
I think it'd be usable if you cut it up more, maybe spread it throughout the. If there's a good breakpoint where you could cut it.
Well, what's she talking about, Beth? Like, what's her message there?
Well, she's talking about how she was able to use it for her program. It was still useful to her, even though she's doing like a writing course.
Okay, so she's talking about using it for, yeah. So Avery says a lot of info taken at once. Yeah. So Beth, you got a really interesting point here, because so this is actually the crux. What Beth is talking about is the actual critical crux of this thing, which is to say, is this experience that she's talking about, is it wide ranging enough for us to be able to use this, or is it too specific? Because she's talking about a very specific situation where she's a technical writer and she's doing technical writing work. So it's cool in that she says the words aerospace, right? That's cool. Aerospace is cool. Everybody loves aerospace. But we want to be able to use it, but I don't think we can, because to me, it's too distracting from the overall idea. It takes us away from our theme. Does it support our theme of everybody being able to use it? Not really. It kind of does, because she's from another program. So I say you're absolutely right, Beth. If we used a little bit of it, maybe we used the part where I'm in a technical writing program. You could use it. But as soon as she goes into the story, now she's telling this big, long story that our job as filmmakers is to take our audience along for this ride. Do we want them to go down that road? Do you know what I'm saying, Beth?
Yeah, I'm thinking obviously we only have to work with what we have to work with, but it almost makes it seem like if you had gotten footage of more different students and spliced in different things about how they were using the space, that would probably have worked better than this.
Yeah, then you can make it work. Let's listen to this next clip though.
Well, from a student's point of view, it's a great resource because I can come in here and learn about a bunch of different things from a bunch of different students in the other programs. I've had my laptop break down and had other people in different programs help me out with it, and you just meet so many different students from all different areas, and it's just a great collaborative space.
Okay, what was our theme?
Everybody could come in and use the space regardless of what program they were from. It was useful to a lot of different groups of people.
Does this fit our theme?
Yeah.
Yes. It hits it dead on. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go, fuck this. There we go. Boom. Okay. Because you need to start cutting shit out. Okay. It's super important. And one of the most important things I'm going to tell you about editing, about this whole thing, you got to figure out where you're going to go. And then you need to start winnowing things away, because otherwise the longer you leave it there. So I'm going to show you how you actually do it, because that was a bit brutal. So once you've done this thing where you've got your clips like this, the next thing you do is you go to your sequence here, and you're going to call it, let's call it on cameras, like that. Call it on camera. You then duplicate it. Okay. So because it's nonlinear editing, and we kind of call it on camera selects. So you start working in the selects one. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm going to go to the selects. So I because they're usable, I'm going to get rid of that one in my select. Oh, sorry. I did it on camera. Whatever. Control Z. There we go. Sorry.
To make sure you
camera.
always have the footage to fall back on.
Yeah. Just so you don't lose track of where it is, because there's no cost to it, right? So you say, okay, that way you can go back. Oh, maybe I do want to use that clip, and now I don't have to try and find it again. I can have it there. So that's going to be my Julie clip. Okay. Now let's listen to Steven.
So the Makerspace is kind of a unique place on campus in that it is open to literally everybody. At Algonquin, there's all kinds of studios and workshops that are locked down to a specific program. Here we want to open things up to everybody. We do 3D printing, sound recording, filmmaking, design, coding, all in one space so that anybody can
Does that fit our theme?
Yes.
It does. Yeah. Basically, this is the Beth, Emily, and Appleton part of our class today. Thank you guys. I really appreciate you doing this. Avery and Dylan are there. They're looking at the cameras and they're nodding and stuff like that. So I appreciate that too. It's good. Yeah. Everybody else, they're all fired. So so this fits really well, right? It fits really well. Now, what's the risk that we have to be aware of here? What did I say we have to avoid about two people?
What is it like? It's not specific enough, or it's too specific? Or
Repeating yourself. Say,
okay.
Edward and Chris. I got a shout out to Edward and Chris too. You guys are helping out too. No repetition, saying the same thing. So what he says, it's not exactly the same, but it's close, right? So we're okay. I think we'll try it together. But that's a good clip, right? It's right with our theme. We just got to be aware of the repetition. It's exactly right. Let's go to our next clip.
The Makerspace was originally something that happened just on paper, that was supposed to be run by somebody else. That person walked out. Our manager, Matt Jarabek, walked in at the right moment and decided to take this idea and see where we could go.
Is that work with our theme? No. Thanks, Shivari. Yeah, Apple. Yeah, no, we don't give a rat's ass about this. This is a classic distraction from your story. This is exactly, people say this kind of stuff all the time, and you're like, no, you got to go gone, because it doesn't move the story forward. It doesn't. Like, who's Matt Jarabek? We don't know who the hell's what, and he no, that's the worst kind of stuff you can put in your story. Okay, it's like, we're talking about people we haven't introduced. We're talking about an idea that no, moving on.
We had no idea when we opened this space what it was going to be. This has been packed every day since we opened, getting all kinds of new gear. We picked up 3 new printers, $10,000 in stuff, and we are in a rapid growth phase.
If you use that clip, what are people going to remember? What did you remember from that? You just played it. I played it twice for you now. What do you remember from that clip?
The money spent.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Beth. The cost. Edward says the cost. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. It's so there, and it's like 10 grand, and you just. So what does that end up doing with the audience? When the audience is listening, what are they going to do on that? You just did it. What are they going to do? They're going to remember that, right? Do you want them to remember that? You're the director. Do you want them to remember that?
Probably not.
Yeah. What part of the story is that? Their budget. Are we talking about the budget? Do we ever mention it? Do we ever? No. Right? So that's Gandhi. Okay. So you see how we're doing this? We're filtering this stuff down. Let's read the last clip.
The plan is to make the Makerspace be more than just 3D printing. We want to start doing art installations. We want to start doing workshops, getting people in here, filling this space up on the weekends, really making this something for
What about that
everybody in
clip?
school.
Definitely relevant.
Solid gold, right? Those are the clips when the guy says it, you're like, boom, gold. Thank you. Right? So we're coming along right now. We got one of Julie, two of Steven. Let's do the same process with Ryan. Okay.
Essentially, what I do is, on paper, I maintain the 3D printers and I make sure they're always up and running. But what I actually do is much, much bigger than that. I talk to everybody who comes in here and make sure that their idea is clear and they know what they want to do, and then help that idea become a reality. Whether that is app development, which is not my forte, I'll send them to Steven, or if it's they have a project that they want to work on, they're printing a building, then I'll help them get started with that, modeling from the ground up, and then making that building a reality.
Now this is a bit of a tricky one, and I'm because Beth had the answer for this one, the last one. So I'm gonna throw it back to you, Beth. What's the story here? What do you think?
His story here is about how many different people come in and he has to help them or determine what they need.
Are we gonna use this?
It's at least fairly relevant. The whole thing doesn't necessarily feel like it is, but towards the end there where he's talking about all the different kinds of people he helps.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So the middle there is actually, there's a couple of parts where we don't want it for sure, but there's a chunk there that's actually not bad, right? Where it kind of worked, right? So let's go through and listen to that.
What I do is, on paper, I maintain the 3D printers and I make sure they're always up and running. But what I actually do is much bigger than that.
What I do is actually much bigger than that. What I do on paper is that, do we need this part? Do we want this part? That first part.
I think it could be cut if you needed more space.
Okay. It's never about the space. It's never about the space. It's always about the story. So, and I'm saying that as far as everything you're going to do in this course, everything that you do, like, I'm not saying that in terms of, everything you ever do as far as cutting. Sometimes it is about the space, and it's sometimes very rarely at a piece to time. Give me 2 minutes or give me a minute on that. This is about me. In this course, it's all about the story. Is this helping our story? That first bit.
I don't think so, really. I don't think it's necessary.
You're absolutely right. It is not helping the story because nobody gives a rat's ass that he's a printer technician, but I do more than that. I don't care. I asked you, I didn't ask you about that, right? So I don't care about that. You got to be a bit of a bastard of this.
Do is, on paper, I maintain.
So as soon as he says on paper, he's going to say, I do lots of other stuff. Nobody cares.
They're always up and running. But what I actually do is much bigger than that. I talk to everybody who comes in here and make sure that
I talk
their
to everyone
idea is clear than that.
So I'm going to get rid of that whole first bit because I don't care. Do we need to tell the people that he's a 3D printing technician? Do we need to have him say it? Do we need to have him say it? No, right? Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, we can do it with the words at the bottom. Exactly, right? We could do it with a soup with a lower third, right? So remember what I said about, what I said, remember what Ken Burns said about 1 + 1 = 3? So when he's talking about something and we put a lower third that says he's a 3D printing technician, the viewer puts it all together and 1 + 1 = 3. We put that with a little bit of be real, bingo bango, right? So let's
I talk to everybody who comes in here and make sure that their idea is clear and they know what they want to do, and then help that idea become a reality. Whether that is app
Now, when he
development,
says
which is
app
not my
development,
forte,
which is not my forte, what happens there to the viewer? Does that help move the story forward, or does it make the story worse? A bit worse. Thanks, Chloe. Exactly right, right? Because what he's doing is he's backtracking with story. What I do is I help everybody, you know, if it's app development, that's not my forte. That goes to Steven. What the fuck? So now I got to go back. Like the viewer, you got to be thinking about the viewer, what the viewer is. So you're not moving the story forward here.
do and then help
That's
that
a
idea
strong
become
ending,
a
right?
reality.
Help the viewer become a reality, right? Cut.
Whether that is app development, which is not my forte, I'll send them to Steven. Or if it's they have a project that they want to work on, they're printing a building, then I'll help them get started with that modeling from the ground up.
So let's
and then
see if we
making
can
that
use that.
building a reality. They have a project that they want to work on, my forte, I'll send them
So
to
let's
Steven.
try
Or
to
if,
grab the if, see if we can do it.
or,
There's the or. So there's the if. Right
or
there.
if
I'll go back and see if I can grab it before the if. And then we'll just cut it and see if it works. So I'm going to just delete that clip, ripple delete. When you want to do close a gap between two clips, you can right click in between the two clips and just do ripple delete.
that idea become a reality. If it's they have a project that they want to work
Okay,
on.
fine. So if I can cover it, I could use that, right? It's actually pretty good, right? Yeah. So Applein, what do you mean it makes you think no one will be there to help if I take that? I'm talking about keeping this. So what do you what do you?
She was
Am I going
commenting
down?
on the part that you're cutting,
Oh, okay.
like him saying that he can't really deal with the app stuff,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
he shuffles you
yeah.
off to somebody else.
Yeah, and it relies on you knowing that this is Steven, right? Like so when you're shooting this stuff, this happens all the time, right? So I'm doing this interview with Ryan here. Steven is standing over behind me, right? So he'll say, "Oh, if it's app stuff, I'll send him over to Steven." Well, the audience doesn't know Steven's, like, they don't know who the fuck Steven is. Like, they may have paid attention. You may put it in order, but maybe not. Likely not. So you need to be really careful with that kind of stuff. But this is good. We're moving the story forward here now, right? Okay, let's listen to this piece here.
One of my favorite stories was there was a gentleman in the first couple weeks of opening who came in and he had no idea what 3D modeling really even was or where to start. So we sat down with him, we told him the software he needed, we told him get the basics and helped him get started. And weeks later, he had designed a fully functional tank. And it was unbelievable the detail that he had put into this and the time. At this point, he's a better modeler than I am, and that's shameful because I've been doing it for 10 years, but it was incredible how passionate he was and how immediately caught up he was in the idea, and he's very, very incredible.
Okay,
and
so that's a good little story. What's the problem with that little clip? I think it's perfect until he says the guy was a better modeler. Yeah, because then it becomes about Ryan. Right? So he's telling you the story with this guy, and then he says, yeah, enough about him. Let's talk about me for a bit. And people do this all the time. So it changes the story. So it's good up until that point. And you might have to trim it. So let's try it and see if we can make this good.
Yeah, one of my favorite stories was there was a gentleman in the first couple weeks.
So we're going to just make it say there was a gentleman. There was a gentleman.
Favorite stories was there was a gentleman.
So let's trim it to that.
There was a gentleman in the first couple weeks of opening who came in and he had no idea what 3D modeling really even was or where to start. So we sat down with him, we told him the software he needed, we told him get the basics and helped him get started. And weeks later, he had designed
now
a
that's
fully
really
functional,
strong. Okay, so I'm probably going to end up cutting it there, but maybe adding.
And it was unbelievable the detail that he had put into this and the time. At this point, he's a
now
better
can I
modeler
use a
than
better
I am,
modeler
and
than
that's
I am? As soon as because I can't, right? Because I can't cut. He's a better modeler than I am, and he's a better modeler than I am. I can't say better modeler. So I can never say that. I can't go to better modeler. So I need to cut this whole other chunk here. Like, it's gone. I got to get rid of it because it's not helping the story. Okay. So let's listen to the last piece. We're near the end here of this.
Honestly, a lot, not to sound sentimental, but I would have killed for something like this when I was in high school. So the idea that it was open to everyone, student or not, regardless of age, was really exciting for me. And when Matt first contacted me and said, we'd like to open up this space and I'd like you to be a part of it, I was ecstatic. I was so excited, and coming in here, and despite there being a few road bumps, there always is, I'm thrilled with what this space is.
Is this helping us? Is this good for us? It's going to work for us. Parts of it, yeah. Emily, yeah. No one, yes, yeah, yeah. So Chris says the beginning, yeah. You're looking at the bits, right? And this is really what I want you guys to do. Is you say, always keeping in focus the idea of where your story is, and don't let the people on camera draw your story off. You guys are the directors. You're the ones that are putting this together, right? So where does it go south here? Let's listen to it.
Honestly, a lot, not to sound
so
sentimental,
I would have killed.
But I would have killed for something like this. That it was open to everyone, student or not, regardless of age, was really exciting.
So that's
for me.
really good. That's a good little clip, right? It's got. Why is it good? Why is that particular little chunk good? I'm staring at the chat box. Why is that chunk good? Why do you listen to that and go, I want to put that in somehow? Well, I hope you do. Anyway, why? Yeah. So Chloe, he's giving it a positive review. Where's that? He's passionate. Thank you, Chris. That's exactly right. He's got some feeling, right? So that's from the heart. He's like, I would have killed for something like this. That's what are you trying to get out of your audience? What are you trying to get your audience to do? What are you trying to, what's the currency of the internet? What are you trying to get them to do? Be attentive? No, not go there, Edward. I want them to pay attention. Thank you, Chloe. I want them to listen to my story. I make it a story. So if I got somebody that's on camera that's being passionate, is that going to help my story? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So this is so now your challenge as a filmmaker is to be, okay, well, can I use this? So let's try.
But I would have killed.
So we got to come in on that eye, because it's important. So there's the eye right there. I believe that's the eye. So I'm going to delete this.
I would have killed for something like this when I was in high school. So the idea that it was open to everyone, student or not, regardless of age, was really exciting for me.
What about when Matt, when he says when Matt, what happens then? When he starts talking about Matt, what happens? Because what did I say about Matt before? He gets off track. Yeah. We don't know who the fuck Matt is. Who's Matt? Do you know? You don't know. Yeah. Who the heck is Matt? Yeah. We don't know. Right. And the audience doesn't know. So we got to stop talking about Matt.
Of age was really exciting for me.
Really exciting for me as we're out. He starts to say an and. So we'll see if we can do it. No, the end is pretty clean there. So that's good. One of the reasons this is why your audio recording is so important. Yeah.
Exciting.
Let's see if we can come back to it.
When Matt first contacted me and said, we'd like to open up this space and I'd like you to be a part of it, I was ecstatic. I was so excited, and coming in here, and despite there being a few road bumps, there always is, I'm thrilled with what the space is today.
Where can we come back? Where can we come back? Do we want to come back to talk about road bumps? Where he meant to say bumps in the road? Right? Do we care about bumps in the road? No, not really. No, we don't. No, we don't. Where's there our gain in it for that? Like the ship sailed on conflict. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and see if we can come back, because he's very passionate.
Being a few road bumps, there always is.
I'm thrilled.
I'm thrilled.
So let's see if we can come back
Is
for
a-
I'm thrilled. So there's an A.
I'm thrilled.
His I is right here.
I'm
You see it there? So you see that I'm cutting on the, I'm watching the waveform to cut it, right? So I'm going to delete that. And then I'm going to put these two together and listen to it.
exciting for
Bingo,
me.
bango,
I'm thrilled
right?
with what the
Okay.
space is.
So what have I got now? I got my, these are my selects. Okay. So we started with this. So this is all the on cameras. We took out me talking. And then we come back to, I'm thrilled. Yeah, there's our select. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, now I'm going to take out all the gaps and just to get some sense of how long we are. So we're storing right now, minute 38. That's where we're at. Okay. Now the next step we're going to go through is we're going to, and I'm going to take this as far as we put a little bit of B-reel on it. I just like to do that at this stage to kind of cut, and I get a sense. Now I'm looking at it, and what we can see there is we're basically 1/3. No, we're about 1/3 Julie, 1/3, 1/3, half and 2/3. It's an extra long project. We're about a quarter Julie, a quarter Stephen, and half Ryan here, right? So we're starting to see what are we going to open up with? What do we want to open up with? What's the first thing we're going to see? What do you want to see first? What do you think? What do we not want to see first? Who do we not want to see first? So Emily, you're answering who we not want to see, right? We don't want to see the admin. Exactly. That's exactly right. And Appleton says Ryan, maybe. Not Julie. Why not Julie, Appleton? What do you think? Not Julie. I mean, it's too long. I would get bored. Okay, that's fair. Okay. How about if I, well, let's just try this starting out. Let's try it and see where we go.
Well, from a student's point of view, it's a great resource because I can come in here and learn about a bunch of different things.
I'm going to agree with you. I'm not thinking that that's a good opening. It's not strong, right?
From a bunch of different.
It's going to be a good, solid middle piece.
I've had my laptop break down and had other people in different programs help me out with it.
We're going to cut this, by the way. Okay, so I'm watching this. What do you think about that part where she started talking about her laptop? Lose interest? Yeah. What do you mean by as a hook, Emily? Like
it just starts off with a little bit of a conflict so that you kind of pay attention.
Oh, I see. Yeah. But is it part of our theme?
I've had my laptop break down and had other people in different programs help me out with it.
Is that part of our theme? It's on the periphery, right?
Yeah.
Sort of, but it's not really, because it becomes this story.
Students in the other programs.
So I'm going to get rid of that, I think.
I've had my laptop break down and had other people in different programs help me out with it.
Because it's not relevant. So I'm like, and I'm not saying this is like cut and dried.
In the other programs, and you just meet so many different students from all.
Tell you what, though, without it, it moves along better, I think. So who are we going to open? We're going to open with Ryan, right? We've ended up we're opening with Ryan, right? So which clip of Ryan are we going to open with?
In here and make sure that their idea is clear and they know what they want to
do. It's too pedantic.
Work on their printing a building, then I'll help them get started with no idea what 3D modeling really even was or where to start. So we sat down with him, we told him
that's
the
engaging.
software.
It's an engaging story, right? That's that story. Remember that?
Something like this when I was in high school. So the idea that it was open to everyone, student or not, regardless of age, was really exciting for me. I'm thrilled with what this space is today.
Do we want to open with that? Maybe the first half of that.
It could be an ending.
Well, here, how about this? How about this? And I'm not saying that. So how about I open with that and I end with that? Okay. So I'm just going to move Ryan out of here. So there's my opening and my ending.
I would have killed for something like this when I was in high school. So the idea that it was open to everyone, student or not, regardless of age, was really exciting for me.
Okay. So really exciting for me. Let's come out of that. What do we go into now? Do we go to Stephen or do we go to Julie? Julie, says Emily. Okay.
Well, from a student's point of view, it's a great resource because I can come in here and learn about a bunch of different things.
I'm thinking that the energy level is too low for Julie. How about this? Let's come in. We'll just, yeah. So this is, move it down a tiny bit.
So the MakerSpace is kind of a unique place on campus in that it is open to literally everybody. At Algonquin, there's all kinds of studios and workshops that are locked down to a specific program. Here we want to open things up to everybody. We do 3D printing, sound recording, filmmaking, design, coding, all in one space so that anybody can walk in.
Who's going to walk in? Who's going to walk in?
Julie.
Julie!
Well, from a student's point of view, it's a great resource because I can come in here and learn about a bunch of different things from a bunch of different students in the other programs. And you just meet so many different students from all different areas, and it's just a great collaborative space.
Okay, it's a great collaborative space. Now what do we want to do if we want to have that? Do we want that? What do we want next? Great collaborative space. You meet everybody. How about this clip?
I talk to everybody who comes in here and make sure that their idea is clear and they know what they want to do, and then help that idea become a reality. If it's they have a project that they want to work on, they're printing a building, then I'll
Okay,
help
so
them.
that's not bad. Let's try this one.
And it's just a great collaborative space.
There's a gentleman in the first couple weeks of open who came in and he had no idea what 3D modeling really even was or where to start. So we sat down with him, we told him the software he needed, we told him get the basics and helped him get started. And weeks later, he had designed a fully functional
Are we good there?
tank.
What do you think? What's next?
Yeah.
The plan is to make the MakerSpace be more than just 3D printing. We want to start doing art installations. We want to start doing workshops, getting people in here, filling this space up on the weekends. Really making
So do we
something
end
for
on that
everybody.
or do we end on this?
I'm thrilled with what the space is today.
Perfect. Thanks, Ryan.
So how about we do this? How about we take, because this is super tight clip, right? Super short clip. Let's take this and tag this onto the end of Ryan and use that as a segue into Steven. Like that. So he goes like this.
Fully functional tank. I'm thrilled with what the space is today.
The plan is to make the MakerSpace be more than just 3D printing. We want to start doing art installations. We want to start doing workshops, getting people in here, filling this space up on the weekends. Really making this something
And there you
for
go.
everybody in the school.
What do you think? Rest of it
End
gone.
on like a directive, a future goal.
Well, he's saying yes, this is where we're gonna go. I'm gonna end it right there. I'm gonna end it with Steven because that he's wrapping the story up.
We want to start doing art installations. We want to start doing workshops, getting people in here, filling this space up on the weekends. Really making this something for everybody in the school.
So there's your piece. It's 1:16 long. Okay. Roughly. Now I'm gonna grab a piece of music, I think. Oh, that's funny. Sorry. I'm just gonna grab a piece of music. I think I should have some here. There we go. Any music in here? No, there's no music. Okay. So at this stage, what you'll do is you'll try and grab a piece of music. I'm just going to grab something here. Doesn't really matter what I use. So I'm just going to get something quickly here. Because now what I need to do is try to figure out, I got to figure out my pace. And the music's going to be a big player in that. Okay. So here we go. Oh, sorry. All my every once in a while, all my USBs decide they're going to leave me. It's very weird. Okay, I'm gonna just throw a piece in here. So here's a music piece here. This is just an example. Okay.
I would
So
have
I'm just gonna bring the audio down on that. So you can see here I've got their tracks pretty big. So I'm gonna bring this down to minus 20 dB. Okay, so we're gonna grab all these. So I'm gonna move everything down so it opens up a little bit. We're gonna open with some B-reel probably, right? So I'm gonna grab the whole track. So I'm gonna hit T. Is it T for track? I can never remember. Yeah, so it's A. A and Shift A grabs just one track. I'm gonna move it down a bit. So that moved everything in the track. So we can let the first half a bar. So there we go.
I would have killed for something like this when I was in high school. So the idea that it was open to everyone, student or not, regardless of age, was really exciting for me.
Now we don't have a lot of B-reel.
So the MakerSpace is kind of a unique place on campus in that it is open to literally everybody. At Algonquin, there's all kinds of studios and workshops that are locked down to a specific program. Here we want to open things up to everybody. We do 3D printing, sound recording, filmmaking, design, coding, all in one space so that anybody
So I'm
can
going to tighten this whole thing up so it's much tighter to Steven there. There we
From
go.
a student's point of view, it's a great resource.
Now I'm just going to check my last one.
Here.
I'm thrilled with.
The plan is to make the MakerSpace be more than just 3D printing. We want to start doing art installations. We want to start doing workshops.
So I'm happy with that. The way the feel is. Again, you're going to take longer to do this, I would hope.
Getting people in here, filling this space up on the weekends, really making this
It
something
ends
for
pretty hard
everybody.
there. So let's move this to there. There we go. So now we got the music coming out.
Great resource because I can come in here and learn about a bunch of different
I'll
things
fix that
from a
later.
bunch
I'll
of
fix that
different
music
students
thing.
in the other-
Now my B-reel. What do I have to do with B-reel? What's my plan with B-reel? What do I do? What am I using B-reel for? Put it on top? Yeah. Yeah. Why am I using it though, Chris? What's the reason? Okay, there's two reasons that I use B-reel. What are they? Visuals. Yeah, they're visuals, but what am I using? What do I use them for? What do I use them for? B-reel.
To support the main story with a bit of variety.
Yeah, you're making the story better, right? So the other part that I use it for is I use it to cover cuts, but I use it mainly to make the story better. So here's my opening shot here. That's an exterior of MakerSpace. So let's I'm gonna do, because I'm up in my source window, I'm just gonna do an in out. So I and O here. So I can set in and out, and then I can drag the clip in. And I'm just gonna drag that there and we'll take a look at it and see. So this is
I would have killed for something like this when I was in high school. So the idea that it was.
We have to make a choice as a director. So we hear the voice. When do we see it? When do we see him? And I'll tell you right now what you have to do. So there's two things you can do. You can either show him when you can show him, you never show him right away, but you can show him kind of here, or you can leave it and show him down here. If you just you're going to show him down here, you have to be confident that his voice is strong enough, voice and character. Like when I say voice, I mean his role, who he is in the show is strong enough that people will remember him after meeting these two people. Do you understand what I'm saying?
You want to make sure people will remember who he is when he shows up.
If I don't show him, yeah. Okay, so my BG sound, whoops, my BG sound is still too hot. So I'm just going to make this bigger and drop the volume down to -20 something there.
I would have killed for something like this when I was in high school. So the idea that it was open to everyone, student or not, regardless of age, was really exciting for me.
So the MakerSpace is
so I'm going to leave it like that. I'm going to bring this in, and then we'll play with it later and see, or I'll play with it later. This exercise, we're going to be done this exercise in a few minutes. So
the Maker,
and hopefully you will have learned some bits about story.
The MakerSpace is kind of a unique place.
And of course, I'm going to have to put a fade out here. So let me just put that in. An audio fade there.
For me.
The MakerSpace is a unique place on campus in that it is open to literally everybody. At Algonquin, there's all kinds of studios and workshops.
Okay, so let's grab another chunk of B-reel. So throw this back up. So there's some shitty. I'm just going to put it on an order because I don't at this stage really care. There's an in.
How are you, Chris?
I'm good, Mike. How are you, man? Okay, now we have to be careful about what we're doing audio wise, because who did we hear jabbering there? Me. So we're going to kill the audio entirely, because as soon as you have another voice coming in, you can't have that.
Everybody. At Algonquin, there's all kinds of studios and workshops that are locked down to a specific program.
So
here we want to open things up to everybody. We do 3D printing.
Let's use that later on,
recording.
and we're going to have to stabilize it because it's really super shaky. Okay. So let's see if we got like a. Let's grab this shot here. Okay. Let's grab that shot right there. Bring the audio down.
Locked down to a specific program. Here we want to open things up to everybody. We do 3D printing, sound recording, filmmaking, design, coding, all in one space so that anybody can walk in.
Well, from a student's point of view, it's a great resource because I can come in here and learn about a bunch of different things from a bunch of different students in the other programs. And you just meet so many different students from all different areas, and it's just a great collaborative space.
There's a gentleman in the first couple weeks ago.
Now, I'm not going to use this. I'm just going to grab this little shitty dolly here. And I'm going to walk back across a little bit of that. One of the things that I'm making sure that I never do is that I never cut audio and video at the same time.
Areas, and it's just a great collaborative space.
There's a gentleman in the first couple weeks of opening who came in and he had no idea what 3D modeling really even was or where to start. So we sat down with him, we told him the software he needed, we told him get the basics.
Let's see what else we got. Here's a little 3D printer here, piece running. Grab that and out. There it goes across there. It's super long. Oh, there's a tight shot of it too. That's a different one. That's too much 3D printing. Out and out. There we go. Again, drop the audio right down.
So we sat down with him, we told him the software he needed, we told him get the basics and helped him get started. And weeks later, he had designed a fully functional tank. I'm thrilled.
Okay, I'm going to shorten that because I need to make that cut. We're going to cut this. Sorry, I'm going to cut this clip here. I'm going to move it back to here, and you'll see it'll work better.
basics and helped him get started. And weeks later, he had designed a fully functional like tank. I'm thrilled with what this space is today.
The plan is
skip it, and let's get Steven. We don't need that gap, so we'll go back like this.
Is today.
The plan is to make the Makerspace be more than just 3D printing. We want to start doing art installations. We want to start doing workshops, getting people in here, filling this space up on the weekends, really making this something for everybody in the school.
There you go. Now you need titles and you need some sort of graphic at the end, and boom, there you go. Okay. So does that make sense to you guys? So the idea all the way through is identifying the story, figuring out what you want to talk about, and having the strength of your convictions that you carry it through, and you follow that, what that is. Okay.